Now this is the greatest solo farming strat in the game. Now before I say anything else about it, first, let's roll the clips. Insane map. 2 div, Voidborn key, and 3 puzzle boxes from the same map. And exhibitable. The Risk Scarab Abyss farming. It is one of the craziest strats in the league. It is so profitable that it all builds around this one Scarab, the Cartography Scarab of Risk. So the change they made to this Scarab this league was before this used to say areas have 1 additional random modifier. Now it says 2, and I believe they also increased the limit of how many of these you can put on a map at one time. So from 1 modifier to 2, and the increased limit, allowing you to have a total of almost up to 10, but in this case, 6 additional random modifiers on a map, which, if you didn't know, random modifiers or any additional modifiers raise the quant, the rarity, the pack size, and any special mods that you get through tier 17 maps, like more currency, more maps, more scarabs. All of those get multiplied with the more modifiers that you have. So that is why this strat is so insane. Combined with the Abyss Scarab of Edifice, this makes you spawn a bunch of Hoards. As the Abyss travel, these Hoards serve as chests full of loot. So the more quant and rarity and other juicy stuff the map has, the more stuff those chests are going to drop, and the more loot that you're going to get. So that's the basic gist of it. You these in tier 17 or tier 16.5 maps, you roll the maps to have as much currency or scarabs, or a combination of currency and scarabs. Don't really go for maps. Maps aren't worth it. I have maps on some of these because they just naturally roll on there. And yeah, you cannot do this strat unless your build can handle most of the tier 17 modifiers. I'm running my cold dot build. This build can run basically all modifiers in the game. Some can be a little bit rippy, but I can still get through the map just about in one piece, or maybe at least like 75% of the map before I run out of portals, if it's super bad, but that's besides the point. So that's the Scarab setup, the map setup. Let's take a quick look at the Atlas. We have all the explicit modifier effect, quant, rarity, and then we have Abyss. So Underground Kingdom, this gives us a chance to contain an Abyss per 2% increased pack size. Now you might question, why are we doing this if we already have Abyss through map device and Scarabs? Well, this makes it so we have an additional Abyss. Same way how Legions work. If you get a 100% chance to contain a Legion, you have 1. 200% chance you have 2. So same thing, the more chance to contain an Abyss you have, the more chance you have to contain additional Abysses inside of the same map. We do not take this wheel. We don't care about anything that this wheel gives us. We take Abyssal Army. This gives us more Abyss monsters, and more monsters means, well, more potential loot drops. And then we have this wheel up here. Basically, this gives us a chance for a guarantee for our abysses to have 4 pits if they do not lead to an abyssal depth. Abyssal depths suck. They are that new location that you go into and then you fight the abyssal boss down there. It is worthless. Don't go for it. There's no loot down there. Just ignore though. They're a waste of time. And besides, it gives us magic monsters and some more monsters, etc., etc. Besides that, map effect, scarabs, more scarabs, amber scarabs, cartography scarabs because they're the most expensive ones. I'm going for red altars. If you want, you can skip red altars, go for blue altars, up to you. And then I'm blocking a few things. I'm blocking delirium, they're cheap. Ritual, also cheap scarabs. Legion, cheap scarabs. Expedition, cheap scarabs. Everything else has some value to the scarab, so I'm keeping those. Besides that, there's also this node here. This gives us a 20% chance for all the Hoards and the monsters and the Stygian Spires to drop corrupted 5 or 6 mod abyss jewels. Now, most of these will be garbage. If you see here, I have an entire stash tab almost full of them. All of them have not sold, meaning they are garbage. But some of them did sell. I had one that sold for 10 div, one that sold for 5 div, and a few that sold for 1 div each. So some of these are pretty good. Most of them aren't. But since we're farming abyss anyway, and we don't really have any other place to put these 4 points, I put them here. They're pretty useful. So use them if you want. If you don't want to do that, it's to you. It doesn't really take anything else. You don't really do much about it. You just pick up the jewel, you ID it, and you toss it in the dump tab. And I have my loot filter hiding all jewels except for the corrupted ones. So it's pretty straightforward. So that's about it for everything. Now let's go. We're gonna run a quick map and see how it looks. Abyss on the map device for 3 additional abyss. Abyss, map, scarabs, red altars, and go. We're gonna be tracking the gold. I have 0 gold. I do believe we're gonna be farming a bunch of gold doing this. So let's see how the map looks. I'm not going to show the entire map. The entire map. Maps like these will take anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes, maybe more, depending on if you're dying on the map or not. But yeah, I don't have the fastest build, so it's not going to be incredibly fast, but you can already see I'm running this on Fortress because Fortress has the barrels on the sides, and those barrels also drop loot. So you see here, those barrels. Okay, well, things were a bit lame, but you get the point. I'm pretty sure most of you know. A Scarab dupe and currency dupe. I'm taking that, even though that puts my res into the negative. Who cares? But yeah, most of the monsters in the map won't drop that much. They'll just drop the generic amount of loot that tier 17 maps are going to drop. But then you find the Abyss, and this is where things will start to get a bit intense. As the Abyss, I'm going the wrong way. The Abyss went the other way. That's awkward. So Abyss travels, it spawns these hordes. And then the hordes will open by clicking them. I am a spellcaster, so I'm utilizing the spell mastery that lets me open up hordes by casting spells. Makes things a bit more efficient. However, you don't need to be a spellcaster. You can just click on the hordes to open them as well. So yeah, pretty simple. You just go around, clear the abyss, open the hordes, get the loot, and that's all. I'm not going to show the entire map. As I said, I'm just probably going to show this one abyss. You don't need to boss rush here to get the altars that only affect the map mods or the minions. It's okay if you can. If you have a fast build, I can just run straight over to the boss. Good for you. I'm not going to be doing that. There's a puzzle box, so that's from the first abyss, and you can already know that this strat is going to print divines, scarabs, puzzle boxes, everything. So you can see here I have 370% increased quant and 262% increased currency. So in this map, I'm probably not going to get any scarab tanks, but I will get puzzle boxes, I'll get divines, maybe, just maybe, I'll get that elusive mirror or Hinekoro's lock. I'm really hoping to get one. I have a buddy, he's gotten many locks, he's gotten a mirror, he's been absolutely spamming this. So that there was the Stygian Spire that spawned in the end after like 4 pits. And then once you're done with that, you just go next. You clear the rest of the map, find all the abysses, you can see them, they're the green dots on the map. And that's basically it. Go around, clear them, get done with it. That's basically it. There's nothing more to say, nothing more to show. You get the point. Try not to miss any abyss hordes. So you see here, I missed one in the back. Sometimes the spellcaster mastery isn't the most convenient if you don't have a lot of cast speed. So sometimes I miss a few, try not to miss any. And that's basically it. I'm now going to finish clearing the rest of this map. And then the remaining 19 maps. And then you'll see exactly how much I made doing this. And how worth it, or maybe not worth it, it might be. So I'll see you then. Here it is. This is everything in 20 maps. We have all this stuff, all the scarabs. Give me one moment. Let me just clean all of this up. That looks more pleasing to look at. And I'll be right back. All right, here I am. I'm done cleaning it up. Looks nice and pretty. Now let's go over exactly how much we made, because there's a lot to cover here from just 20 maps. So first of all, I did brick 2 of the maps that I ran. One of them, it was just lagging so bad. I have no idea why. It was just unbearable. So I just had to leave. And then the other one, there were just too many very rippy modifiers from the risk Scarabs. I just couldn't run it, kept dying repeatedly over and over again. So that was a brick. But the rest of the 18 maps, I finished basically all of them or almost all of them. Like I died a few times. Sometimes I died during an abyss, and the abyss ended because I died. So that was bad. But otherwise, all of this stuff is like, let's say this is around 17.5, 18 maps worth of stuff, which is good enough. So let's see. We have 2,648 alts and 739 chaos, 184 chisels, 50 grand eldritch embers, 98 greater ones, 106 regrets, 12 exalts, 8 annuls, 115 GCPs, 19 divs, 14 puzzle boxes, 3 Voidborn reliquary keys, a little bit of eldritch currency, not bad. 1 cortex map. Why is this here? Relevant. 2 dragons' hearts. We found a Doriani's prototype. We found a soul taker. We found 1 gravebind that got duped by the altar, so 2 gravebinds. Tabula rasa, reach of the council, and the gull. So those are all the noteworthy drops here. Besides this, there's also 4 ambush scarabs of containment, 4 ultimated scarabs of catalyzing, 4 invigoration scarabs, 1 calcification scarab, 1 blooming, 2 bloodlines, 2 awakenings, 4 cornucopias, and 2 divination scarabs of pilfering, as well as 79 cartography scarab of risks. So these are basically the ones that we were using. The expensive scarabs, we actually sustained the scarabs that we were running, over sustained, because we used 60 and we got back 79. So that's huge. That basically means that if you start running this with like 5 scarabs, every single map you'll get more scarabs to keep going, so you don't need to buy bulk of them to start off, which is very, very big. You can save a lot of money by not having to buy these scarabs in bulk. So that's all the currency. What about the scarabs? The rest of them. So we have a insane amount of scarabs. We have a ton of ambush, ton of cartography, a lot of different types. Harbinger, Talguran scarabs, divination scarabs, essence scarabs, a little bit of blight, but nobody cares about these. But yeah, there's a lot of scarabs here. I did kill the boss of the map sometimes, not all the time. I think I killed like 5 or 6 map bosses because they were just way too tanky with all the risk scarab mods. So I'm not going to take any of these fragments into account because you just sometimes you kill the boss, sometimes you can't. My build is very slow at killing the boss, so I just didn't really do it. But if your build can, go right ahead. I did find the astronaut helmet one of the times when I killed the boss, so that's here. I'm gonna ID it, let's see. Basically a mineral. Well, never mind. I wasn't gonna include this anyway, that's just here for the funsies. Main things are all of these, so now, besides that, there are also a ton of 16.5 maps. We got 21 of those, not 21, 17 of those right here. Most of these are good layouts like Mesa. Actually, not most of them are good. They're all bad layouts. Mesa, Toxic Sewer, but most of them aren't bad. We'll see how much these are worth individually. I'm not going to price anything in bulk. There are also some maps. I did not pick up any maps. I basically avoided maps like the plague. I didn't want to pick up any maps. I don't want to sell any maps. There's probably like hundreds more maps that I just ignored because I didn't want to pick them up. I just picked these up by mistake, and that's why they're here. I'm going to remove these. I don't want my calculation to have maps in them. They take a while to sell. They're annoying to sell. No one likes selling them exactly. So I'm going to remove these. And then the rest of this tab will be checked by Wealthy Exile because it's all basically raw currency or items that will instantly sell. So there's nothing to question here. As well as the fragment tab, this I'll be checking with TFT's bulk selling tool at 70%, because this tab with all these scarabs will easily sell instantly for 70%, maybe even 75% if you want to wait a bit, but 70% is will instantly sell. And the expensive scarabs I'll be selling individually on Faustus, and the risk scarabs I'll be selling in bulk, but that's because that's a massive bulk. But yeah, I'm going to remove these maps, and then I'll see you in Wealthy Excel and TFT's trading tool. Before I forget, there's also this. There are like almost 100 void cards here that I don't know what to do with. These are like 2C each in bulk, so I'm probably going to price these as 2C each. There's also a bunch of corrupted abyss jewels, 5-6 random modifiers on these. While glancing at them, I don't really see one that would be insanely valuable. Maybe some of these will go for a div, but I will price this tab at 1 div. If I get any hits, I get some hits. If I don't, I don't. I'm not going to include any of this in the profit calculation. This is just extra stuff from the excess points that we had on the Atlas tree. That's all. Now, to Wealthy Exile and the bulk selling tool. See you there. All right, here we go. We're in Wealthy Exile, and this is how much we've made in that one tab, 59 div in 20 maps. And I went over all of this. It just looked pretty accurate. Doesn't look like any of these numbers are inflated too much. If I missed anything, let me know. But most of this stuff does look pretty accurate in terms of pricing. This is all raw currency. Most of this is raw currency. It's divs, puzzle boxes, reliquary key, soul taker, raw chaos, raw, all of this stuff is just raw. You can sell almost all of these things directly to Faustus the moment you're done. And some of the uniques, you can just put it in your sell tab. These will sell. Dorian is so popular recently. Same with Gravebind. The Gull, I don't know if the Gull is 1 div. Let me just quickly check that. All right, the Gull is not 1 div, so I'm really going to remove that from the calculation. So it's 56 div, actually. And again, this is insane for 20 maps, and that's not even the most of it. That's not even all of it. So it's this at 57 div, and then we have our Scarab tab. So fragments at 70% ninja prices, with divines currently at the time of recording being 213 div. So we save that, 70% price, Scarab, go. So we have 12 div worth of Scarabs, again at 70%. These are all the weaker Scarabs, the cheap Scarabs. All of this will instantly sell. Of course, you can sell everything at 100%. If you go and you want to lose your mind selling all of these to Faustus, go right ahead. I would not recommend it though. I would just sell this at 70%. So far, let's bring up our calculator here. We have 12.31 div worth of Scarabs. And then we have 56 div worth of just raw currency. And then we have the Scarabs over here. So we're going to quickly convert this number to chaos. So that's times 213. So far, it's 14,550 chaos plus 4 ambush Scarabs of containment at 260C each, 250C each. That's 1,000 chaos. So plus 1,000 for that. And then we have 4 ultimatum Scarabs of catalyzing. So that is 576 chaos, 576 plus 4 invigoration Scarabs. So that will be another 188 plus 188. And then we have 1 calcification, that's 42C plus 42. We have 1 blooming, that's 35C, 35, oh, not 36, 35. And then we have 2 awakening Scarabs at 314C each. So that's 628C, 628 plus 4 cornucopias and 2 pilferings. So 4 cornucopias is 180 and 2 pilferings is 48. So plus 180 plus 48. And then we have 2 bloodlines, which is another 120C. So 120. And then we have 17,379 chaos. It's not done yet though, because now we have 79 cartography of Scarab of risks. So here, if you want to sell these to Faustus, that is another 1,264 chaos. However, I recommend just selling these on the trade side. You could probably sell these for like 20C, maybe more, if you sell them on the trade side for bulk. But let's just say, for the sake of simplicity, everything's being sold directly to Faustus that is valuable. So here, 1,264C. So 1264 right there. That's 18,631 chaos. And then we have these originator maps. So I'm not going to value these at both prices. As I said, I'm going to value each of these at 25C. So here we have 5, 10, 15, 16, 17. And 17 maps. That is 100, 200, 300, 400, 425C. Hope my mental math is correct on that. 425C. So that is 19,056 chaos, which is 89.4 div, which is around 90 div. However, we did invest a decent amount into this. So what are our investments? Well, we used 60 cartography Scarab of risks. Let's just put the number in here because it's expensive. So 960C for those, 960. And then actually, no, we should switch that over there. So 60 is 1,080 to buy them. So it's not 960, it's actually 1,080 to buy those. We use 20 edifice scarabs. So 20 of these, that's 40, so plus 40. And then we used one just regular old abyss scarab. This is pretty cheap, I think. It's 4C, never mind, it's 4C. So we used 20 of these, which is, oh, it's not 4C, it's 4 for 1C. That's insanely cheap. So it's 20 of these for 7C. It's basically free. So 1127C there. And we ran these on Fortress. So Fortress is half a div each. So I spent 10 div on 20 Fortress maps. So that is another 213 times 10 is 2130 chaos. So plus 2130 chaos. That is 3,257C plus, again, the 5C draft on the map device for Abyss. So 5 times 20 is another 100. So 3,357C total, which is 15.7 div. So minus 15.7 is 73.76 div. We're getting there. We're getting to the big number. How much did we make in an hour? So let's see. So these maps were not quick. Fortress is a very long map. It is a very painfully long, arduous map. So each of these maps took me 10 whole minutes to run. So 10 times 20 is 200 minutes. That is 3.33 hours. So there we go. What's the final number? Drum roll, someone. In your mind, just do it. It is 22 div hour consistent raw currency. That honestly is insanely good, judging because of the fact that you have to sell nothing. You spend no time selling. A lot of people who make currency farming strats, they do not put into account how much time it'll actually take for you to sell the items that you're farming, right? So map farmers specifically, you may make 50 div an hour, but you'll spend another 5 selling that. So don't forget this. So here it's 22.15 raw currency. You have to sell nothing. All of this was just sell straight to Faustus. Literally, Faustus prices 22.15 div an hour. It's really good. However, I would, if you're going to run this, this is what I would recommend you change. First things first, use 4 risk scarabs if you can. The more risk scarabs you add in, the more currency you will be making. The amount of a difference a single risk scarab makes in your overall profits is absolutely insane. So if you're running 3 risk scarabs, you will have around 380 quant, 350 to 380 quant per map. With 4 risk scarabs, you will have around 420 to 450 quant per map. So that's 100% quant. It is huge. And replacing this, there's a reason why this scarab is super cheap, because it's not good. Right? It's just the only scarab you can put in. If your build can handle 4 risks, do it. The more risk you add in, the better. So 3 risk was 22.15 div. At 4 risk, this would probably be around 30 div. At 2 risks, this would probably be around like 16 div. At 1 risk, you're better off just not even doing it. So that's it about the risks. However, one more big thing is Fortress maps were not worth the currency that I invested into them. Why? Well, first of all, I didn't kill the boss. One of the main things that the boss drops is the Yoke of Suffering. And if I'm not killing the boss, I'm not really getting the benefit from the map boss, nor am I getting the fragments that the boss drops, the Maven fragments that are worth over a div. the Uber Elder fragments that are also worth like at least 100C or something each. So if I counted those in, I would have an additional like 5, maybe 10 total div in the 20 maps that I ran, maybe even more if I drop multiple yokes or a yoke with a good roll on it. I digress. So if you're not going to be killing the boss, don't do it, because the barrels that I initially thought would drop a ton of loot, similar to the Hoards, they did. They dropped some exalts, they dropped some Tink Scarabs or Tinks sometimes, but paying 100C per map is not worth it. I would instead recommend to do this in tier 16.5 jungle valleys. That will give you A, access to all of the altars, the good ones, without having to kill the boss. B, maps are cheaper. It's like maybe in bulk, jungle valleys might be 30 to 40C, maybe 50 at most, so it's half the price. And you also get access to the originator memory skills. Maybe you get a really good skill and you like get some massive loot out of it. Who knows? That's what I recommend. And also on that note, I tested a few jungle valleys with 4 risk Scarabs. That is not in the loot calculation here. I just tested that out. And then I saw that those maps actually took 5 minutes because they were very clean. You didn't have to go around winding around the tunnels of Fortress. It's very, very fast maps. So if I did this in Jungle Valley, let's say in Jungle Valley, let's go back to the amount of currency that I made, 73, right? Let's say instead of 73 in tier 16.5s, I made 65 div. Let's say 68, right? 5 div less, right? But I'll be spending less on the maps. So if we go back over here, I'll be spending an extra less, 500C less. That's 2 div less. So we're going to add 2 div back in here. So that's 70 div. And we'll be spending almost half the time. So 200 minutes, it's 5 minutes per map, times 20 is 100. So that is 1.6. So then if we do this, you can already, this number is about, this is going to be 42 div if you finish your maps faster. So I highly recommend doing this in Jungle Valley instead. The maps will be easier to roll because you won't be spending Chaos Orbs to roll them. The maps will be easier to farm because you'll sometimes have access to Soul Taker memories or the Headhunter memories. Maps will be smoother, easier, altars, all that good stuff. So risk Scarabs, if your build can handle it, if the build can handle the difficulty, I highly recommend. Very, very good, very, very powerful, and definitely the premier farming strat of the league. That is absolutely 1000% insanely lootly gonna get nerfed to the ground in the next league. So have fun with it while you still can. Goodbye.